K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Game on, where progressives fear us and rhinos tremble. Welcome to the political jungle. I'm JD.
This is Stacey. No one is safe. No one is spared.
Lock up the children.
And the old folk.
Welcome to the world of liberservative conservatarians.
That's right, and if you were listening last Tuesday night to Game On with JD and Stacey here on K98 Talk, you would know that we are liberservative conservatarian thugs. Thugs. You hear me, Media Matters? That's right, I said it. Good evening, 9 p.m. Thursday night.
David Axelrod just had a heart attack.
Give him a shout-out, baby, on K98 Talk for Game On. This is our second night of Game On every week here on K98 Talk, June 4th, 2015. Everybody right now, get over to K98 Talk. Get in that chat room. Say hi to the beautiful and brilliant Mrs. Stacey Lennox. I am so lucky to have as my co-host, and I'm going to tell everybody here right now what kind of fun we're going to be having here tonight, baby. Oh, that's right. Kind of nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide kind of evening. Mother Reeves the Vandella's going to kick us off. Going to have a lot of fun here. We got a packed hour tonight. So much to choose from in the world. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Rick Perry and Lincoln Chafee announce. I know everybody popcorn and booze, Lincoln Chafee. TPP and the Durka deal falling apart because, shady Iranian Durkers. Every Tuesday night, 10 p.m.
Because that's news, not really.
Every Tuesday night, 10 p.m., catch Stacey and I for Game On here on K98 Talk. Thursday night again, 9 p.m. Sundays, 11 a.m. We change it up a little bit, baby, live for your Bloody Marys and broadsheets, your cure for your mainstream media hangover. Go to K98 Talk on Spreaker. Check out our catalogs, everybody else's shows. Next Tuesday, June 9th on Game On, 10 p.m., Stacey and I are bringing you Judith Miller and her book, The Story, A Reporter's Journey. And then the following Sunday, we got Mary Catherine Ham and Guy Benson on the 14th. End of discussion, how the left's outrage industry shuts down debate, manipulates voters, and makes America less free. Good Lord, we got a lot going on.
Yes, we do. And if you have not read Judith Miller's book, I would be more than happy to take questions in chat if we have the opportunity. But absolutely fabulous book about the journey about weapons of mass destruction during the Iraq War and actually what happened and who said what. A lot of clarity, and I don't at all disagree that there's probably a significant portion of the left that would try to shut that book down.
And no joke, Judith Miller is badass. I am talking Lara Croft from Tomb Raider bad. Listen, they could make a video game and a movie about this woman's life. If Judith Miller, I'm going to tell you something. If Judith Miller was in a Quentin Tarantino movie after reading this book, she'd have an afro and a leather wallet that said, "Bad, you know what I'm saying, baby."
Absolutely. She's like my new heroine. But before we get really into our stuff tonight, first of all, I'd like to welcome Red Nation Rising to the K98 platform. Jared and Lou had a chance to listen tonight. You guys did an awesome job, had a great guest. And also Eric Williams, JD, who does the barbedwiresatire.com.
And that weekend update, baby, on that Bloody Marys and broadsheets. Yeah.
Yep. Does our weekend update, just got accepted to a humor feed, joining the family of satire sites. And apparently only about 15% of sites that apply get accepted. So Eric's doing great work over at the barbedwiresatire.com. Congratulations, Eric.
Congratulations, Eric. Now you got to be funny.
Yeah.
What an ass. Oh, my God. Temperature's going up in the Northeastern studios. Woo, getting this fleece off. Good Lord. Good Lord. All right, tonight we're going to be talking about, we're doing it in the segment because there's so many people running for president, but it's almost disrespectful to Rick Perry. I promise you all, the majority of the first segment, it's not going to be evenly split between Rick Perry and Lincoln Chafee, for God's sake. What did you call him before? You had a great
I call him the Ron Paul of the left.
Oh, great. Now you've offended 98% of the audience. I told you, Lyndon LaRouche or Ross Perot.
No. He is the Ron Paul of the left.
Listen, just to give
we were talking, seriously, we were talking the other day about how the left is moving even more left. He's like to the left of Sanders.
I don't know if he's so much left as complete out of space, as complete out of...
Dude thinks he lives in Canada and it was a misspeak.
Okay, before we get into the both of them, let me juxtapose to you two men who'd like to be leader of the free world. One, a former governor of the great country of Texas, which I hope to get a visa and move to one day.
Gomer said we could.
Yeah, where's Uncle Louie?
Love Uncle Louie.
Former Governor Rick Perry, who basically is running a shadow government down in Texas, successfully, unlike Washington, actually doing something about the borders. And then Lincoln Chafee was a Republican, then he's an independent. He wasn't going to get reelected governor. You know what? I'm going to run for president. What are you going to run as? Crazy as a loon, okay? Let me juxtapose for everybody in the audience. We're going to give each of you their new themes and their announcers. And I want you to hear the difference of what's being offered on the right now as to what's being offered on the complete lunatic fringe of the left. First of all, Rick Perry from the great state of Texas.
The stars at night are big and bright.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
God, I love that.
Don't hang up.
But this is Perry. This is a cut of the best.
Because we want to live there.
This is a cut of the best of Perry's announced. Just listen to what the policy prescriptions the man offers in a couple of minutes.
We have the power to make things new again, to project America's strength again, and to get our economy going again. And that is exactly why today I am running for the presidency of the United States of America. It's time. It's time. It's time to create real jobs, to raise wages, to create opportunity for all, to give every citizen a stake in this country, to restore hope, real hope. Real hope to forgotten Americans. There are millions of middle-class families who have just given up hope of getting ahead. Millions of workers out there who have given up hope of finding a job. And it's time for a reset. Time to reset the relationship between government and citizen.
Woo!
Damn Skippy.
You think of the arrogance of Washington, D.C., representing itself as some beacon of wisdom with policies that are smothering this vast land with no regard to what makes each state and community unique. That's just wrong. We need to return power to the states and freedom to the individual.
We are talking Rick Perry from the right, former governor of the great state of Texas, not running for another term, okay? Is offering resetting the dynamic between the citizen and the government. This is what Lincoln Chafee offered last week.
Earlier, I said, let's be bold. Here's a bold embrace of internationalism. Let's join the rest of the world and go metric.
This is not a parody, by the way.
I happen to live in Canada, and they completed the process.
Canada.
Believe me, it's easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long before 34 degrees is hot. Only Myanmar, Liberia, and the United States aren't metric, and it will help our economy.
Mm-hmm.
In this new American century, it's very important to have a ready and strong
Just say
military.
it. You're more interesting than he is.
The
I was
eagle
going
on
to say,
our
so
great
will
seal
ending the war on illicit
holds
drugs,
both
which I
arrows
think Lincoln
and
might have been
knowledge
on
branch.
before his announce, because he hasn't lived in
Let's
Canada
lead
since
responsibly
1983.
with a commitment to our unwavering defense and our peaceful purposes.
This is why Lincoln Chafee has earned this great theme song. There was so much junk in that speech. He gets a sample of Elizabeth. Elizabeth is the big one. Elizabeth. All right.
And for those of you who are new to Game On, all of the candidates have their own sound effect. So, you can generally tell by the sound effect what we think of the candidate, sort of globally. But back to Rick Perry. I mean, seriously, JD, here's a guy who was actually in the military, grew up in an agricultural setting on a farm with his dad. He joined the GOP in 1989. He used to be a Democrat, and he got smart pretty young, right? He succeeded George W. Bush as governor of Texas and set a record for serving as the governor of Texas. He must have been doing a pretty good job.
He was the king of Texas, not governor.
He was the king of Texas. Now, the biggest mistake I think Rick Perry made was trying to run for president in 2012.
Oh, absolutely. And just as a one-off, the first person that I ran into at CPAC about 11:30 at night when I was checking in, I was going down to take a look at Radio Row because I'm a little kid and I'd never seen it before. And here comes Governor Rick Perry, not with an entourage, but 2 aides. Not only was he incredibly gracious and engaging there in the hallway, Stacey and I had the great fortune at Blog Bash, correct?
Mm-hmm.
To see him present a Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, he was presenting it to Eric Erickson.
Who we love. Eric
absolutely.
Erickson.
Absolutely. And we're going to be a red state, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear that, Loftus? Book your plane tickets. Michael Loftus, the Flip Side Show. But you have, excuse me, you had him run in 12. So he's in this room, and he could have walked away, but he handles big rooms and small rooms just with great aplomb. And I think it goes back to the politics of how does this get juxtaposed against his performance in 2012. And the press is going to give him a hell of a time, but look, if Clinton can get a pass for laundering money, pay for play, getting, hoo-ha'd in the Oval Office, and whatever other kind of bodies literally they have hidden, every politician gets at least one reset. I think that what he did as governor after that was very smart. I think the moves he made at the border was smart. I think the shadowing of Obama's major executive orders and some of the action taken by his attorney general at the time, Greg Abbott, was very smart. And I think that all sets him up to 2016. But I think the questions about it are going to be is, can he play off that he was all whacked out on pain pills from back surgery?
Well, I think he can play off that. But the other thing the liberal press is really playing up, do you remember Large Marge?
Well, yes, and
so
tell the folks
Perry has these big corruption charges because the DA in Austin, who investigates other public officials, got really drunk and made a complete ass of herself when she was arrested. He said, "I'm not giving that agency that investigates other people any more money until she resigns." And now, because Austin is the only blue spot in Texas, he's up on corruption charges.
But this is one of these national stories that the press is never going to lend any context to. So if you take a look, actually Google Rick Perry's mugshot, Austin, Texas. His political people, I think, are some of the sharpest out there. And we're starting to see finally some smart consultancy on our side, because what they really wanted was Rick Perry's mugshot. That's all they wanted. Because if they could put that in the paper, and your average moron who goes to vote and he's leaving the house and he votes like he's betting on the 7th race at Belmont, going, I'm gonna take a slow horse in the 5th. All he sees is a mugshot and says, "Oh, this guy's a crook." No. For a little context, Austin is the piece of salt in the pepper shaker in the great state of Texas. And it's this little blue dot on a big, basically,
red state.
If you look at Texas as a big red ass, Austin is the pimple on it.
Right.
You hear that, Austin? Not the people, the government, for Christ's sake.
Well, and I mean, if you seriously look at what Rick Perry accomplished, so we're talking about a Republican Party that would prefer a candidate with executive experience, right? And if you look at what he accomplished, there are periods right through 2014 where if it were not for job growth in Texas, job growth in the U.S. would have been net zero or negative.
One of his best quotes, quote, "I led the world's 12th largest economy." He just said this Thursday. Quote, "The question of every candidate will be this: when have you led? Leadership is not a speech on the Senate floor. It's not what you say, it's what you have done." And if you want to juxtapose how much this country has changed in the last several decades, people used to be nervous about not having any kind of military experience to run for president. With the 436,913 candidates, I think, that have announced on the Republican side. Kankles, Uncle Bernie, O'Malley, and Lincoln Chafee, and oh God, I hear Bloomberg. But if you take a look at it, you know what's insane? Lindsey Graham, who we can't stand, but you know the
I'm
only
good
two,
enough, I'm smart enough. Sorry.
The only two with military experience are Perry and Graham. I mean, that's no endorsement of Graham, but here's Lindsey Graham on the subject right now.
Because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Thanks, Lindsey.
I love that. Sorry.
You know, for anybody who missed it, this was actually Lindsey Graham announcing for president last week.
No one here, including me, ever expected to hear me say,
because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for president of the United States.
Oh, Christ, that never gets old.
Oh, my God. We're going to be under so much NSA surveillance. It's not even funny.
Oh, let me tell you, if you weren't on NSA surveillance before this, just stop being my co-host. I thought you were badass.
Right. Yeah, I'll try.
But
anyway.
No, I think about this. You know, you have a former Air Force veteran. He's in his 50s, not in his 70s. And he has a state that people are flocking to, not from. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Northern Flight goes south, and a lot of it goes to Texas. And when you take a look at what he had actually accomplished during 15 years as governor, okay, replacing George W. Bush, the biggest mistake I think Rick Perry made was trying to run in 12. If he had come out of the gate in 16, he would be a contender every bit as much as Scott Walker.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's going to listen, his consultants have played it well so far. We're going to have to see how they take it into the backstretch. But I think that this is an example of one of our guys who actually gets it and knows how to politic. All right, with less than a minute left, Lincoln Chafee. He was a mayor, a senator, a governor, a Republican.
The governor of a state the size of a postage stamp.
An independent, a Democrat. He's 62. However, I do like the fact that he's going to give he's going to be the only person on the left who is going to give Hillary Clinton holy hell over that 2003 Iraq War vote.
Well, he will, but he's going to end all wars. He also thinks he lives in Canada, even though he stopped in 1983. His press person actually had to clarify that because that would have made him ineligible to run. And probably the reason he misspoke is because he's for ending the war on all illicit drugs, and now we know why. The only thing I really agree with that he said I could give a hoot about the metric system, but you know, Edward Snowden, I think he can come home. He was a whistleblower, not a criminal. And you know, that's about it because he wants diplomacy with ISIS. You know, those people that want to cut our heads off.
Well, here's an interesting quote to take us out of the segment. This is from a Democratic consultant. I think Chafee wants to have the same dialogue on foreign policy that Bernie Sanders wants to have on domestic policy, said Scott McKay, political analyst for Rhode Island Public Radio. He sees the country is becoming too militaristic, and he will talk about the Iraq War vote. I'm going to tell you something. So long as somebody keeps that fat piano leg thief accountable and her thieving, lying, murdering, God knows what husband, Stacey and I are going to take care of everything else. Ooh, coming back on the other side, talking a little TPP on K98 Talk. Get in that chat room.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a long lost friend.
K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
Welcome back to Game On here with JD and Stacey on K98 Talk. Everybody right now, get over to K98Talk.com. Get in that chat room. Say hello to Stacey. How's everything going over there, Stacey? People having them nice conversations?
Absolutely. Our group is very chatty, and we've got a fair amount of chatter going on Twitter as well. So thank you very much.
Everybody, welcome to old listeners, new listeners, everybody in between. For those of you who are not familiar, this is JD and Stacey of K98 Talk. This is Game On. Nobody is safe. Nobody is spared. We had a little Martha and the Vandellas telling everybody that in the beginning. With Sundays, 11 a.m., you can catch us a little different show, Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. Everybody get over to Spreaker, hashtag K98 Talk. Check out our catalogs and everybody else's. So everybody's been listening to the news and watching the radio. Good God, is it Friday yet? I'm not even.
It's been quite a week.
Yeah, you hear a lot being talked about what they call TPA, TPP, and TPA basically is just a short acronym for Trade Promotion Authority. And Stacey and I are going to take the whole segment. We're going to explain to you exactly what this is and what this means and how it's being set up politically. But before we do, I think Robin Williams basically has it broken down the best. Between TPP and TPA, I'm WTO.
Seeing as how the VP is such a
and,
VIP, shouldn't we keep the PC on the QT? Because if it leaks to the VC, you can end up in MIA, and then we'd all be put on KP.
Yeah, it's really like alphabet soup. But before we get started, I would encourage everybody to go to the website coalitionforastrongamerica.com. It is my absolute pleasure to know a wonderful activist named Stephanie Scruggs, who has given us a lot of this information. She is actually in Washington, D.C., on the Hill and fighting this battle for us. And as good conservatives, we should be against this, whether there's a Democratic president or a Republican president.
And because JD and Stacey love you guys so much, I would encourage everybody to go over to, you can download it if you want. You don't have to. I have it here in my hands. It weighs about 1.5 pounds. It's a 30-page report that just came out a few days ago, about a week, May 28th. It's from the Congressional Research Service, and it's Trade Promotion Authority, TPA, and the role of Congress in trade policy. Some of it is wonky and a little dry, but if you're going to arm yourself with bullets to discuss this conversation, because this is going to be an explosive battle coming up in the next couple of weeks, you really want to understand what it is. So Stacey and I are going to take you through a little bit of the history and what it means currently.
And let's be clear, the battle is in the House of Representatives because the Senate already caved.
Absolutely. And this basically, when you hear TPA, it stands for Trade Promotion Authority. It's kind of a fast track. There are 4 basic elements to it. One is to define trade policy priorities and to have those priorities reflected in trade agreement negotiating objectives. 2 is to ensure that the executive branch adheres to these objectives by requiring periodic notification and consultation with Congress. You know, morons actually having to do their job. To define the terms, conditions, and procedures under which the president may enter into trade agreements under which the respective implementing bills may be approved. And 4th, to reaffirm Congress's overall constitutional authority over trade by placing limitations on the trade agreement's authority. These 4 goals and some important procedural precedents that fall outside the formal legal TPA process. So there's some history that goes into the TPA. What is TPA? TPA is the process Congress has made available to the president to enable legislation to approve and implement certain international trade agreements. They can be considered under expedited legislative procedures for limited periods. The president himself has to observe certain statutory obligations. On July 30th, 2013, President Obama first publicly requested that Congress reauthorize Trade Promotion Authority and reiterated his request for TPA in his January 20th, 2015 State of the Union address. Legislation to renew TPA was introduced in the 113th Congress. That was the last one, but it was never acted upon. Legislation to reauthorize TPA, sometimes called fast-tracked, has been done under bipartisan congressional trade priorities in 2007. The expedited legislative procedures, which are really what is at hand here, have not been changed since they were first codified in the Trade Act of 1974. TPA renewal may become a more pressing issue in this Congress because current trade negotiations on, now this is where TPP comes in, that refers to the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Ugh.
Yeah, the TTIP, TISA, Doha, WTO, and my old favorite, WTF. But why?
If you think about it and really boil down, though, what TPA actually is Congress giving up its constitutional authority. Any agreement between nations, Congress, specifically the Senate, is supposed to approve. And basically what they're saying is we're just going to give up a hand to the president with just a thumbs up or a thumbs down. They are giving up their ability to propose amendments, and that's not okay.
No, because there's a history behind this. And it's basically framed in the Constitution. The United States Constitution, I recommend everybody read it. It's a very short document. It assigns express authority over the regulation of foreign trade to Congress. For roughly the first 150 years of this great nation, Congress exercised its authority over foreign trade by setting tariff rates on all imported products. Tariff was the main trade policy and instrument. Early congressional trade debates pitted members from northern manufacturing regions who benefited from protectionist tariffs against those from largely southern commodity exporting regions. So throughout our history, we were basically a tariff-based nation. There were 2 legislative events in the 30s that actually changed this policy. It was the Smoot-Hawley Tariff in 1930 and the Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act of 1934. You go today all the way through the adjustments in the Kennedy administration, this is what brings us fast track today, correct?
Correct. But I mean, and again, from my perspective, if you're a conservative, whether there is a Republican sitting in the White House or a Democrat sitting in the White House or a progressive like we have now, you would object to this. Congress has given up so much of its constitutional authority over the executive already. That's why you have rogue agencies like the EPA. That's why you have rogue agencies like the DOE. Okay, because the executive is now governing those agencies with very little congressional oversight. Now Congress and McConnell raising his hands go, me first, me first, me first. Here you go. And I think Congress actually thinks they get some kind of bonus for being able to blame the executive branch down the road. That's not the way it works.
Well, that's why they want the renewal of this authority. I mean, if you take a look at it, it was tweaked and there was some adjustments made to it. But again, it goes back to the main codification of the law, and the language hasn't been made on fast track since 1974. Now, I honestly can't blame Obama for trying to get it done earlier, but he's engendered so little goodwill in Washington that he's put himself in this position. This is now the world's biggest political football, to the point that where, the right says, hey, any kind of leeway we give this president to negotiate anything on his own, he's going to screw us. Because, take a look at what's coming up in the third segment, this moronic Iran deal, or whether you go to what we were reading in Forbes before about the U.S. about to give, secretly give data of its citizens to be held outside the country. People do not trust this administration, whether it's a tinfoil hat theory or not. They have realistically engendered so little goodwill and trust that you could sell the story that, well, if we give Obama an inch, he's going to bury this country in the next year and a half. But you have, died in the Senate, but you have Senator Cruz and you have, Rep. Paul Ryan that are really coming back to try and defend this, to say, no. TPA actually gives Congress its say. And
that's because they actually think TPP, the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, along with the TTIA, which is the Transatlantic Trade Agreement,
what
have to do with trade. They don't.
Hold on, let me get this straight.
Seeing as how the VP is such a VIP, shouldn't we keep the PC on the QT? Because if it leaks to the VC, you can end up an MIA, and then we'd all be put on KP.
Okay, now I understand.
But, we have two pending trade agreements out there, and basically the sum total of the Pacific and the Atlantic Trade Agreement together account for 60% of global GDP.
But
let me repeat that. 60% of global GDP.
But
now, when you look at that,
neither one of these necessitates any fast-track authority.
No. And somebody is trying to make us feel better by saying, well, Congress, wusses, can put together these trade priorities. Well, let me explain some of the trade priorities that the Obama administration has already rejected. Number one, the approval of new trade partners. So last I heard today is China is thinking about coming into the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So Congress would have no say as to whether China could be a trading partner under this agreement. Okay. Also, immigration. Congress is saying that our immigration laws should not be affected at all by TPP, and the Obama administration has rejected that as a trade priority. Ensuring world courts, UN anyone, does not have the ability to overrule U.S. law. That has been rejected. Penalties for currency manipulation, which JD can explain much better than I can. And also no favored status for countries that engage in sex slavery and trafficking. And the Obama administration rejected that requirement.
But this is what puts them back in the position. Look, if you take a look at the history of how this has been used, it's been a no-brainer most times to extend courtesy and a little leverage room to the president to negotiate. That's the whole point of trade promotion authority, fast-tracking. But you have a situation where this is not just about Obama and Congress and Obama and Washington and Obama and the U.S. and Obama and citizen. Yes, Boo-Boo's a moron. We all know this, okay? But I want you to think about how feckless and useless he has been. The reason that this has become the political football that it's become is because like I just said a few minutes ago, it is not necessitated to pass any of these trade bills to have this fast-track authority. It's not. Do you want to know why the administration wants it or actually needs it? Is because they have such weak relationships with our allies and our trading partners that they need to make a show in Washington so that their prospective partners, who are already our allies, think that they're serious. If you are 6 years into your own administration, the world should know whether or not you're serious. And if you have to do some sham of a law and adjustment that hasn't been made in 41 years, because every other president in Congress came in, no matter how bad the politics got, could figure it the hell out, well, then it's on you. And it's on the people in your administration. And I'm tired of this. And you want to know what? Screw them. And screw these damn trade deals anyway.
Well, when you look at Obama negotiations, right, you already mentioned the fact that he's negotiating this mess in Iran, which just getting worse and worse and worse. Under his administration, we negotiated the North Korean nuke deal, which has just been adhered to, with no exceptions. Ah ha ha. He also negotiated a South Korean trade deal that's already been violated and traded 5 jihadists for a deserter. Okay? Now he wants us to give him authority for an agreement where world courts would be able to fine us for violating it, and it becomes a living agreement where changes would go through without congressional approval.
How come every one of these diplomatic jackals, whether they're raping our citizens or whether they're flaunting our parking laws or just throwing tens of millions of dollars back in revenue back in our face, or whether it's their discounted hotel bills or the fact that they don't tip or their motorcades taking up all this room in the city. Every UN delegate can flaunt every law of wherever they are because for some reason every time the sole of their shoe hits the ground, it's Switzerland. Yet we're supposed to subjugate ourselves to a quote-unquote world body and a world court? You mean the same court who chased Slobodan Milosevic around? Slobodan Milosevic was an older, fatter Archie Bunker, okay? And they had to chase him around the world with this big Interpol, and then they put him on trial, okay? Then this peasant dictator, moron, genocidal jackass defended himself for over 2 years. This is what was, okay. Good luck with that.
I've already told one of our Twitter followers, anti-liberal, that during the first call-in show, they need to call in to make you pound on the desk like that. But anyway, the other thing I really just want to put out there about TPP, and this is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Okay, so these are all our friends in the Asia-Pacific. This is not a trade deal.
Is this an LBGT thing? Is this an LBGT thing? You said it was the trans what?
No, we're not talking about Caitlyn Jenner. We said we weren't going to do that. Just be quiet.
I'm sorry. No, we said no midgets and hot air balloons.
God, don't bring that up.
No midgets and hot air balloons was the deal.
No midgets, no hot air balloons, and no Caitlyn Jenner.
What else is there to talk about then?
She looks a lot like Rene Russo.
All right, listen, I'd rather talk about trade.
Okay, let's talk about trade.
Back to trade.
So the Trans-Pacific Partnership is not a trade deal. Okay, guys? 2% of this has to do with how we trade with other countries. The rest of it is made up as how we're going to harmonize climate change regulations, harmonize collective bargaining and labor relations, regulations. This is not about trade. This is about the Obama administration trying to take a Western perspective on the world and peanut butter it all over the Asia Pacific. I personally am not responsible for another country's labor policies. That's their business. We stood up as Americans. We fought for our labor rights. Let the folks in Asia Pacific do the same because I really don't care, and I don't need to lose jobs in the U.S. and have wages deflate more than they already have. And oh, by the way, have immigration implications as a result of this to try to make the lives of people in Taiwan a little better.
I'm so sick. But my mind is reeling from the peanut butter comment.
Wow. I'm sorry. When I say peanut butter something, it's like take our stuff and make everybody the same.
Oh, my God. Like little buttercups. Did you see, let's punch out of this on a little lighter note. Did you see Nana's comments on this a few hours ago as of about 2 o'clock?
No. Yes, I did. She's not going to help the GOP get TPA passed in the House. And I hope to God she doesn't. She might be able to do it.
Listen to this quote. This woman, how old is she? 436 years old? She's talking about
729.
4,680 years old. She's talking about Boehner. This is Cruella DeVille over in San Francisco. And she says that he's got to get 200 votes. Why? Because she said that would be a good round number, unquote. A little safe number in case somebody doesn't show up that day. I hate this broad. Quote, it's his responsibility. Every time we had a bill under my speakership, you said it was a test of my leadership. It's a test of his leadership. It's his responsibility. What is she, 6 years old? Ladies
we
and
have
to
pass the bill to find out what's in it.
That is your former Speaker of the House. This is a woman that is vaunted. And before we punch out the commercial and coming back into our last segment about Iran and Durka, Stacey promised me with all the TPP and the PTA and the that we had this out going to break. For anybody of you old enough to remember.
I want to tell you all a story about a Harper Valley
We'll be back in 3 minutes.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes in...
Listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works.
President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before.
Did someone say green?
Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind?
Now, do you say good things about me on the show?
No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much.
The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation.
Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo?
I got a pen. I can veto that, you know.
I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it.
Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either.
That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hungover from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. If it's Sunday, it's Bloody Marys and Broadsheets.
We're your cure from your weekly news hangover.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Welcome back to Game On here on K98 Talk. Get over to K98Talk.com right now. Check out Stacey in the chat room. I hear a lot of people in there having a lot of fun. As always, you can find Stacey and I live on Game On Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on K98. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like right now. And Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. Switch it up a little bit. Our other show, Bloody Marys and Broadsheets, your cure for your weekly mainstream media hangover, baby. Next Sunday night, 10 p.m., it is Stacey and I's absolute pleasure to bring to you in the K98 Talk station interview with Judith Miller on her book, The Story. And the following Sunday, the 14th, we're going to have Mary Catherine Ham and Guy Benson. But right now, coming into the top of the hour to round it up, we couldn't have a show if we didn't have some...
Oh, durka, durka, durka.
That's right. And unfortunately, they're looking for the...
Virgin.
Thanks, Scotzo, because they want to... Good God, when are we going to stop with these mud-hunting, goat-herding people?
Clearly not until January of 2017, if then.
Oh, just let me tell you something. I didn't pay much attention to science class when I was a kid, but you know what I learned? Heat and sand make glass, and we got all those silos with all those pretty. I mean, think about all the brain power and technology that went into those. Either that, or let me tell you something. If one thing the mob taught us, there's not a problem that can't be solved in the desert by offering $1.99 prime rib and 10 times craps odds, right?
And speaking of corruption, no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's a great lead-in. I mean, it is. I mean, okay. So for the second report, so Stacey and I are now about 70 pages deep. When did this? And this came out the day after the other report, the congressional research.
Oh
report.
my God, we have been up to our elbows in reports for 2 days.
The IAEA Board of Governors report. You can find it online and download it. Maybe we'll send the link out from the show account. But let me tell you something. Just read a UN report, and you will be so fine with getting the UN out of this country. I mean, this is just. I'd fail a 6th grade math student with this nonsense.
Long and the short of it. We do have a journalist over at the New York Times who boiled it down. Iran is actually growing their nuclear stockpiles.
Yeah.
They're not decreasing them. It's actually in violation of a current UN agreement, never mind the one we're supposed to come to by the end of the month, right? And these conditions that they're violating, according to who, JD? Who is our favorite person at the State Department?
Fifth Boomba, sorority, Supergirl, Marie Harf. Like, oh my God. So, okay.
Oh my God, Marie Harf.
So, about 6 years ago, after I got my master's in foreign policy, okay, and then I woke up with the lacrosse team, but my dad, he was mad about that. But, okay. So, we're going to get to the Harf cut in a second. But what Stacey said is absolutely right. New York Times, check it's everywhere. I mean, read the IAEA report. Iran, flock of seagulls. Iran's,
Maybe we should replace that song with Durka Durka Durka.
I think that's gonna for next week.
Change it up.
But Iran's stockpile of uranium is actually growing like gremlins getting wet or being fed after midnight. You have John Kerry so happy with himself. And this security that he has secured for us with mullahs who have said that you have not secured security with us, that he went for a bike ride in Switzerland and broke his leg. But now, this is the best part. Because, sorority, Supergirl, Maria Harf. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Is that my drink? The New York Times is able to read the IAEA report. Stacey was. So the New York Times wrote about it and said, hey, Iran's uranium stockpiles are growing because, hey, look, there's charts with all the elements, and look, it's growing. Okay? Here's Marie Harf telling the New York Times while they're wrong. Generally not a good idea in politics.
On Iran, you probably saw the New York Times article today, and this is something that came out on Friday. Would you agree that the fact that the report that the IAEA is saying that the stockpiles have increased has complicated negotiation, and was it brought up at the weekend?
Not at all. I will say our team read that story this morning and was quite frankly perplexed because the main contentions of it are just totally inaccurate. First, the notion in the story that Western officials or U.S. officials involved were unaware of this issue or not understanding of what this entails is just absurd. Under the JPOA, Iran can fluctuate its numbers in terms of the stockpile. They can go up and down. As long as at the end of a fixed date, they are back down below a number. So in the first two instances, the JPOA and the extension, that's exactly what they've done. They've gone up, they've gone back down, and at the end of it, they've been where they need to be, and we fully expect that will happen again. I would also say the notion that Iran is doing something it's not supposed to be doing, again, is just not accurate. They are permitted to go up and down under the JPOA as long as at the end of it, again, they're where they need to be. And then finally, I would say, and you may have more on this, more questions, the notion that this is some obstacle is just patently absurd. They are permitted, again, to do what they're doing here, and they've always gotten where they need to be. We expect they will again here. And look, there are some real issues, serious ones we have to resolve in these talks. And this just isn't one of them. What matters is they've committed already, and we've said publicly, to reducing their stockpile whenever this is implemented to 300 kilograms. How they'll do that is a topic of negotiation, but quite frankly, it's not one of the toughest ones. So this is, I think, the notion that this is some big issue of concern in the negotiation is more, I think, of manufacturing a controversy than actual reality. Everyone who read that story this morning was totally perplexed by it.
Did you catch her flashing back to her college days in there? And then, oh my God! And then after the party, I went up and I went down. I went up and I went down. I went up.
I view Marie Harf as terminally perplexed. This is the same woman who said, ISIS wouldn't be so bad if we could just make long-term deals with McDonald's and Walmart to give them jobs over in the middle of nowhere. Are you kidding me?
This is the scariest and worst part. Listen, Marie Harf, thank Christ, is not running.
She got a promotion.
But she's not running foreign policy. She's a spokesperson. Do you know what that means? Listen, you're right. Marie Harf probably wakes up and somebody says, would you like toast or juice? And she probably crawls up in a ball for 4 hours and cries, okay? Yes, I think she's terminally perplexed. But that statement, you know what that means? That means that the State Department and the administration is perplexed. That means after dragging this out for how many years has this been when it was supposed to be a 6-month deal? That now nobody can understand, and this goes back to the show we did months ago, Stacey, that they do not understand the mindset of the people that they are dealing with. So 6 years into the administration, and God knows how many years into this asinine giveaway that we're doing. You know how Kerry broke his leg? Kerry did not break his leg riding his bicycle in Switzerland. Kerry broke his leg bending over to the mullahs.
Well, I mean, and think about it this way, right? So we invited our allies over here to Camp David to try to talk them into what was already a bad deal. Okay, so here's Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and Kuwait going, we don't really want these people to have nukes because they're bad people. No, says the Obama administration. Don't go out and get your own nukes. We'll help you, but we're not going to put it on paper. So now they're going to read this report from the United Nations because all of these folks read and gather their own intelligence. They're going to read the article in the New York Times because, believe it or not, these people follow our politics a heck of a lot closer than we follow theirs.
That's right.
And we are going to have an arms race in the Middle East so freaking fast, your head is going to spin.
It started with listen, anybody who doesn't think that there is a slow-walked arms race going on in the Middle East is crazy. Listen, Obama is the one that's really going to solidify it and put a cap on it. I mean, if you look at AQ Khan and you look at Pakistan, right, take a look at the hut, the literal mud walls of this palace, this mud palace that they found bin Laden, the king of the Durkas, this billionaire over in the middle of nowhere. Yet the Saudi Arabians, with all that oil money, funnel billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars into their military. You've seen their uniforms with those dopey berets and those shirts that are 8 sizes too big and the dumb leather straps for their 87-year-old AK-47s. The money isn't going into that technology. The Saudis have in front of the entire world funded a nuclear weapons program that they could institute and buy on demand, and the little collateral damage that came from it was AQ Khan proliferating this through the rest of the world. And you have the only country and the only ability to stop it might have been the United States, but no. Kerry breaks his leg bending over to kiss the Iranian's ass, and Obama is sitting there giggling like Nero as Rome is burning because now he gets to fundamentally transform the United States of America. I got something to say to both of them. Go screw.
Well, we're new on K98, but in our previous platform, we actually did an amazing interview. Back me up here, JD, with a gentleman from Israel.
Awesome
interview. He goes by Rabbi224 on Twitter. He is an interpreter for Israel, so he interprets military intelligence and government documents along with other things. But he talked to us specifically about the Iranian culture. Mm-hmm. And his message to us was Obama is either ignorant or he's evil. Yeah. Because if he understands Persian culture at all, he knows exactly what he's dealing with. Guys, let me remind you, Valerie Jarrett is one of his top advisors, and she is what, JD?
You know, she'll tell you she's Persian, but I'll tell you there hasn't been a Persian empire or a Persia on the map since the Indiana Jones movies when the plane would fly like in the little red line, okay?
I'm talking about Persian culture, which would permeate Iran.
I know you're not talking about rugs. But, you know, one is a conspiracy theory. Two is, hey, am I crazy? The litany of coincidences in this administration are just way too damn close. You can't be this radical. Glenn Beck gets run out of town for basically being called the Alex Jones of television. And you want to know what? A lot of what Beck said was right. And Alex Jones isn't wrong all the time. And I'm not advocating buy into all this, but look, I'm sorry. I honestly think the left in this administration has been able to fight, and push so hard because they have so much going on that the average person looks around and goes, you know what, this cannot be possible. This cannot actually be happening in my country, but it is. Wow. Thursday nights are fun. They go fast, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and we've had a very active chat room tonight. Thank you for everybody who's participated, and you guys got the distinct pleasure of interacting with Beaker O'Donovan, one of the Third Rail Ramblers, who we need to give a shout-out to.
Throw them panties on the stage, baby, yeah.
Oh, I don't even want to see the tweet I'm going to get after that.
All right, ladies, check us out Sunday, 11 a.m. at Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. Tuesday night, 10 p.m., we're going to have Judith Miller for you with her book, The Story. We'll be back that Thursday night. The following Sunday, Mary Catherine Ham and Guy Benson. Ladies in the audience, get in the chat room, take the panties off, throw them at the stage at Beaker
O'Donovan.
You got the keys?
I do. Let's start up that thing and get on out of here.
Great. Tell the nice people where to find you, what you'll be doing the next couple of days.
I'll be on Twitter at @ScottsFire. Beaker O'Donovan is working for panties, and you can also find me on Facebook at Stacey Lennox.
And as always, I always work for panties along with the great Mr. O'Donovan, and you can find me at Game On JD on the Twitters and, of course, assorted bar stools, alleyways, houses of ill repute, and places I just shouldn't be. See you Sunday afternoon.
I'm looking for you, you Occupy freaks with your glitter bombs. Bring it on! Bring on the glitter. Everything has changed. Everything has changed in the last few years. Conservatives used to take it, and we're not taking it anymore.